Alright, so I just literally watched Malko's video on his wonderful new Carlton amp, and I have a lot to say. I have a lot to respond about. Now, I have not been awake very long. I haven't played guitar yet today, so like, we're doing this on the fly. We're doing this together on a Turn Tuesday. So right, I'm going to get into some things here about why a solid state amp is a really fucking good thing to have. So let's start. I've got two of my absolute favourite solid state amps are right here. This is the Champ 110, and this is the very highly regarded Deluxe 112 Plus. This it was obviously both Fender, USA built, Accutronics reverb, solid state. Both out of the same series, both share many of the features. This one, unfortunately, has been massively modded. This is a hugely Marshall modded item. It's far from original now. The clean channel, completely original. The drive channel's been completely gutted out, which is a good thing. We're going to go for the Champ 110 right now. I've been meaning to make a video about this. Now, this is one of the huge advantages. Okay, below us we have a Champ tube amp, right? And if I switch that on, I need to come back in half an hour, 45 minutes for it to sound any good. But this, okay, right, here we go, bonk. Okay, we're on, right? So there's our first clue. And I just whack you. Yeah. Oh, if I, there we go. Can even see a little bit. Let me see if I can adjust that angle slightly. We can actually get, there we go, just in the top of the screen there. I'm going to go for a similar tone to what Malko was using, so we'll hit it up with the Telecaster. Fuck off, Lee. Fuck off. Right. So the amp's been on for like, what, 20-30 seconds at this point? Less than a minute, I'd say. Now, and we're going to go straight off the bat. There we are. I haven't tuned the guitar, I haven't touched the knob. I haven't even used the plectrum yet. Right. I make my own plectrums now, you know. Beautiful, eh? Let's have some of that Accutronics reverb right now. Accutronics reverb is my favourite spring reverb. And this little amp has been upgraded to an Accutronics reverb. The Deluxe 112 at the bottom, they come standard with an Accutronics reverb, and it's that amp that switched me on to just how fucking awesome the Accutronics reverb is. Yeah, I got a little reverb tray. What was it? Sometime about 2017. And had that whacked in by the late and great, wonderful John Stevens, who I miss tremendously. Lovely, warm and glistening, gorgeous reverb. The other thing quickly is, unless it's a good solid state amp, usually the drive sound isn't worth shit, but in this case, Now, one of the and other amazing things about a solid state amp is its ability to maintain its maintain its tone curve all the way through the volume. Yeah, so like basically with a valve amp, as you probably know, unless you crank it some, it's like if you start winding it back, you start losing bottom end and top end, and your middle starts to get like ill-defined, mushy, muddy. So you lose it all basically. So you know, valve amps very much have like a sweet spot where they like to be driven and where they like to exist. Yeah, solid state amps, absolutely 100% not so much. Have a quick look at where the volume's set on this right now. Okay, it's the knob. It's the knob next to the lead. Okay. Yeah, so set just above 0. Essentially. Hang on, I can't see a fucking thing. There we go. Just above 0. Also useful features. Yeah, so and yet you're not losing great swathes of your signal dynamic. You know, you're not losing great swathes of your tonal response. Ought to tune this guitar really, but I haven't picked up a guitar today. It's the first time picking up. Not warmed up, fingers feel sluggish. Guitar's not quite in tune. But yeah, there's definitely basically a place for solid state amps. If you don't know anything what I'm talking about, Mad Malko Guitars, the greatest channel on the YouTubers, has just bought a Carlton. You know, one of those crazy sort of like. I always thought they were made in the. I always thought they were made in Cumbria, but apparently not. They're made in Scotland. And I remember Mark Feltham using one in the studio at the Squeeze studio to get a clean sound out of a. And yeah, that's the only time I've seen one, and I plugged into it with Dennis's old Strat and played with it for a bit. Very interesting amp, very heavy, and yeah, it's birch cabinet, super bit of kit. According to somebody in the comments, it was one of the designers from one of the design engineers from the Marshall family, which I did not know that. But go and check that out. It's Malko's latest video, and it's great to see. It's great to see someone discover, you know, what solid state amps are really about. If I'm going to be harsh, right, the average tube amp is quite limited. It's a bit of a one-trick pony, whereas you know, like a Vox AC30, I absolutely adore Vox AC30, but it does, like, for me, one thing. Like JSTEM 800, one of my favourite sounds, but it's like one thing that it does. It's not many, like, you know, the little JTM 45, that's versatile more than you'd think. Soldano amps are quite versatile, they have a lot more clean headroom than people think. But it's like, you don't buy a valve amp for clean headroom. That's not what they're for. You know, like people that like really like clean sounds, almost to a fucking man, they own a Roland Jazz Chorus. Like, almost to a fucking man. And there's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. It's not just, you know, some imaginary thing. I'm a huge fan of the Fender sound, and I've gone over the many reasons why that is. But you know, I'm still there. I'm still stuck in, like, you know, that blackface place. Both tube and solid state. And solid state really more for practicality. You know, you see how quickly I could just bang in that and get a sound. The fucking, like, I haven't touched the knobs, they're all on 12 o'clock, you know. If I was sitting there having a session, they would get moved a bit, like, as time goes on. But it's like, it's just so much less hassle the champ that's below it, that's tube. It's like, you know, that is like they're like a living thing that you have to look after a little bit. You know, I've changed the tubes in that, and the huge difference that it made, and the moodiness of it. Okay, when I changed the tubes in my champ, that's the amp that's right there, it sounded fucking diabolical by the time I had to change them, right? And when I changed them, it sounded diabolical, but in a different way. It sounded fucking frigid as fuck. It sounded frigid. Frigid is the only way to describe it. But now it sounds amazing. It took a while. I had to play the tubes in, right? And now it sounds fucking brilliant. You know, they're like, you know, Soviet era fucking space program fucking tubes. They're the bollocks. I think somewhere else I've shown you the pics and I've gone into all of that. In fact, here we go. I've got some here. Hang on. If I could get the drawer open. There's been some movement in here to maximise the space, you see. And you can tell it's really worked out. Yeah, these motherfuckers. Yeah, moody as fuck, basically. So a valve amp is a living thing. Much like the difference between like a solid top acoustic and a laminated top acoustic. A solid top acoustic might not sound that good in the shop at first when you buy it. It might sound really good in 5 years when you've played the arse out of it though. But and the laminated guitar won't sound any really different, or in theory. But it's one of those things. It's like there's a lot of like puritanical nonsense about tubes which I do not subscribe to, and do not get me wrong, I fucking love tube amps. Yeah, with the exception of the Roland Jazz Chorus, when I'm modelling amps for recording, I am always modelling a tube amp. And I'm always trying to go after more than the sound is the behaviour, is what I'm going after. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. Which is why the Vox here, which you can just see in the corner, this Vox VT20 Plus Valvetronics thing. I kind of expected that to be like a valve state on steroids. No such thing. This behaves like a valve amp. I'll get into the Vox another time. I was trying to stick to the champ, but I've kind of made my point. The other one is as a pedal platform. Okay, like a solid state amp will always sort of get the best out of your pedals. They are a great pedal platform. If you're using like colourful effects, if you're say like doing some clean finger picking, okay, and you wanted a bit of phaser on that, solid state's the way to go. Like it's like you know, it's like the difference between like normal and high def. You know, it's like it's like high def. High fidelity is actually the word. You know, solid state amps are very high fidelity. I mean, when you go into the world of hi-fi, how many fucking you do find tube amps in that, but they're right at the top end. There's a reason that like they're transistor. It's that, you know, there's many great things about, you know, the solid state amp that I will defend, and hopefully I have. But it mostly comes down to practicality. And I would still say, like, you know, if you want to build a tone palette, if you want to have all the colours, you must have, like, you know, tubes must be in there somewhere. I've certainly got to expand my collection of tube amps. It's certainly something I plan to do. But as one-trick ponies, not as an amp to live with. Do you understand what I mean? It's like not like the Vox there, which isn't a tube amp, but it does some weird push-pull shit with a 12AX7 in the power section, not the preamp section. There's some strange voodoo going on to it, but I don't really understand it. It's a digital modelling amp with a valve in it in the power stage. I don't know what to make of that. But I can tell you that, like, I'll give you an example, right? The control panel on that Vox. Okay, you got your EQ, like your treble middle boost, right? Your treble middle bass. They do a thing, right? like on an amp. So say on this Fender amp, okay, the treble middle bass, they do a thing, right? What this Fender amp, the EQ section doesn't do is behave like the EQ section on, say, a little JTM 45, okay, where you can dime it. If you dime that, it sounds like shit, but if you dime it, or a Vox AC30, if you dime it, like, you get an amazing sound. Now the little Vox there, when you go into an amp model, the EQ section actually handles like the EQ section on the amp that it's modeling. So if I'm using like a Fender, if I've got a Fender model, the EQ is like it is on a Fender. But if I go into the JCM 800, I do exactly the same thing as I do dime it, like I do on a real JCM 800. Which is very cool to me. That, you know, I can only say that Vox's digital stuff has really improved since like Korg bought them, you know, and all those Toneworks people got their fucking mitts in there. But I know that the older Valvetronics were Tech 21, like they were like like it was all Tech 21 shit in there because it had Tech 21 on the back. Anyway, I am going to get back to sort of like waking up and organising myself, but this was a response to the wonderful Malko video, which please go and watch it. It is a highly unnecessary 41 minutes long, but then this is a highly unnecessary, what, 8 minutes? 17 minutes? Jesus Christ. I haven't even talked about anything. What a load of fucking bollocks. Right, anyway. Flowers in the window, boo-dee-doo.